Hey, 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 what you doing today? Welcome to the Squatch Zone. I'm on a Sunday, and it looks like I'm doing like 3 days in a row. Can you guys believe that? 3 days in a row. Well, today, last night, I told a story about Africa, and I thought, it's one thing to talk about something like Africa and let everybody, they can see me and they can see you all could see my face. And hopefully you could hear that I was telling the truth in my voice because it really did happen. But I thought a lot of you guys aren't on my Facebook. And even if you are on my Facebook, you probably have never seen the pictures that I put up. So I thought that I would share some pictures with everyone of my trip to Africa. It's not all the pictures I have, but it will give a little bit of clarity on what I was talking about and maybe help everyone see what I was seeing and help them understand what I was talking about in the story. Hi, Connie. How are you? And I'm kind of enjoying that I can come in, turn on the equipment, and just start going for it. And I'm really loving that part of it. It's really fun. And I enjoy hanging out with everybody. And I thought, okay, I could wait till Monday or I could just do this on Sunday. And here I am, like I reset the camera and I got my feet up. I'm like totally kicking back here. Just like chilling. And I was actually looking at the pictures and I thought, you know what? I'm going to share these pictures with everybody. I'm going to go live and share Africa pictures with everyone. So I had to figure out how to do it. I never really did that before on this thing. And I figured it out, I think, and you'll have to kind of bear with me if I make mistakes or anything. It's live, and you know how live goes. Things could go wrong. But I practiced a couple times, and I think I got it. And I think you guys are going to enjoy this. A little trip to Ghana, Accra, Africa. So I set up some pictures, and I was going to make like a slideshow and just let it roll through it. But then I thought, you know what? That's no fun. I want to narrate the pictures a little bit and talk about them. Hi, Amanda. How are you? How are you? Yes, we are live. We're live. Coming to you live from somewhere in the central San Joaquin Valley where it's not 100 degrees today. It's only 99. Still feeling like it's cooking. What is it? It's 99, feels like 105. Am I glitching a little bit? Oh, no. I wonder what the deal on that is. Huh. Oh, maybe it's on your end. It's saying it's good on my end, like all good. Wow, Savannah. Hi, Javier. What are you guys up to? Are you going out tonight? Man, Savannah, I heard that's like, no, it says I'm dropping frames. It really is. I wonder why. I wonder if I can fix that here. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can. Oh. I wonder. It must be because everybody's using the internet today. Quite a few people using the internet. It says a few seconds ago. Okay, so. All right, I guess it's back. I might have a little bit of problems because it's the middle of the day and everybody's using the wireless today. And I am actually wireless right now. I'm not plugged into the router. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Cool, man. I need to go out with you guys again. It may more often, really. It was really fun that one night. I enjoyed the heck out of that. Cool. Okay, so it's coming in really strong. Shall I jump into the pictures without further ado, or should I, chat with you guys a little bit and see if more people show up? I have no idea how many's in here. It doesn't show me. I think there's like 6, as I could tell. But I know that it'll record and people can go back, even though everybody likes to be live, hang out live, and that's what I like too. Only I didn't want to. I know it's the middle of the day. I know everybody's online in my house. We have Roku's, and there it is dropping frames again. And I have no idea why it's doing that. It says, what can I do? It says, check the health of your internet. Change your ingest server. If none of these work, lower my bit rate. So if I open the settings, I'll go to my output. I don't know if it's going to let me lower it. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, let me see. I'll lower it down to 2200. I told you it might glitch now in the beginning, so bear with me a little bit. I knew I might have problems because I wasn't sure if it was gonna do that to me or not. So now I should be good. I lowered the bit rate a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. It might even, like when I go to the slideshow, it might do it again. And it isn't because my computer can't handle it. This computer can handle it. I built it myself. And I made sure that the quality of the computer can handle it. It's the internet that might not be able to handle it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transition into... I'm going to go ahead and transition into the slideshow or the pictures, and I don't think I'm going to be able to see chat. So when I come back, if you guys have any questions, when I come back to where I can see chat, if you have any questions, then go ahead and we'll save them for at the end, and I'll talk a little bit about it when I come back to this screen right here where I can see the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly switch over to this other thing, and that's the first shot. This is the first picture I took on the roll. Actually, I should have took some because we stopped in Chicago, and that's where we hopped on this plane right here. This is a 747 KLM Airlines. It took about 11 or 12-hour flight all night to get there. So it took like 11 or 12 hours to get there, and then we had like, I don't know, maybe a 2-hour layover. That's like 5 in the morning right there in Amsterdam. And then we hopped back on the plane for another 12-hour flight, and we flew over the ocean for 12 hours. And that is the Gulf of Guinea right there. And that's the one you don't go in the water on Tuesday, because if you do, they'll kill you. But they think that if you go in the water, and maybe it will, voodoo could have some power. I don't know. But they say if you go in the water on Tuesday, all the fish will go away and everyone will starve to death. And this is looking at the beach. It's called Pleasure Beach. Clothes are optional. Those people aren't wearing any clothes, So I was kind of cropped them out a little bit. I cropped them out. And then there's a little white spot. Something happened to my, this is a film camera, a 35 millimeter, like $1,000 camera. And for back in 82 or whatever it was, that was a lot of money for a camera. But something happened to it, and it had that white spot in all the pictures, and I have no idea. It's not the sun or anything, okay? Just want to let everybody know that. Because you can see there's the white spot again in the same spot. Now we're in the actual city of Accra, Ghana, and those two wonderful ladies right there are carrying bread rolls. And I bought a few, and she's giving me the little sign with her hand, you know, the okay sign, because I was actually starting to eat it while I took the picture, and she gave me the sign like, hey, you're gonna like it. And I did. It was good. It was delicious. And I think she's carrying rolls also. I'm not sure. It was my first day there, and we were out on the town a little bit before we got to work. And I was tripping out on how they carried everything on their head. And I mean everything. So right there, this is downtown, and it's the marketplace. It'll be like our mall. And both sides of the street are open shops, and you can barter with everyone. And this lady here is carrying their main food source, which is yams. And they smash them up in these wooden bucket looking things with these long poles, and they mash them up like mashed potatoes, and then they form it into what looks like a meatloaf, but it's like a pale looking, like maybe raw bread before it's baked. It looked like that. And what you do with it is you grab a little bit and you roll it up in your hand, and you dip it in your soups and stews and stuff like that. And I was doing some shopping, and I bought quite a few things. Now, this picture right here, they told me that I could get locked up in prison or maybe shot right on the spot for taking a picture of a bank and a police officer. They said I wasn't allowed to videotape banks, any government institutions, any government people, no cops, no soldiers, no anything. And just because they said that, I had to do it. Okay, like I just had to. And we were going over to that bank to switch our currency into their currency. And now we're at the hotel, and we're setting up to. The guys are going to have meetings with the top people of that country, the ministries of agriculture, you know, all the different things. They call them ministries. I don't know why, but that's what they call them. And they're setting it up. Now you're going to see me wearing that kind of shirt through the whole thing, but it's because in my TV studio, I did a telethon for the March of Dimes, and they didn't pay me anything, even though they paid everyone else. I actually said, they conned me. It was actually a con too, because I didn't know. I thought everybody was donating, and then I found out everybody got paid. But I got paid in t-shirts. So I had about 24 of these t-shirts, and I took them to Africa with me, and because I didn't know how it was going to be there, and I don't want to ruin my good shirts, so I wear March of Dimes shirts everywhere. And now I'm getting set up with, you know, looking at the shot, and I'm centering everybody up. And the guy that's standing there, that's actually the son of the boss. And for him to be able to go with us, they made him the audio guy. And then he would get all mad at me if I wanted to check his work. And usually we would run the batteries out, and I couldn't check his work really, because everything was dead by the time the end of the day, and the heat and everything was dead. So I trusted that the audio was good. Well, a week later, after we got back from the trip, they told me, they called me up all mad at me, telling me that there was no audio, hardly any audio. And it wasn't my fault. It was his fault. And I kept telling him he needed to check it. I mean, I was on him all the time, and his dad, because I didn't trust how he was doing it. But they kept telling me, he knows what he's doing, leave him alone. I was like, all right, all right. And then the actual video deck we had to rent that from the TV station there, because they took my deck apart in the airport, and they thought it had some kind of spy something in it or something, and they took the whole thing apart. And I was telling the guy, you'll never be able, it won't work ever again. Don't do that. Don't do that. He goes, oh, I do this. I could put it all together. And he couldn't, of course, and it didn't work. Good thing I had insurance on it, because it was a $10,000 deck that he ruined. And so then we had to rent one, and that's what that is. And now I'm just posing right there, because when you're a cameraman, not very many people take pictures of you. So I would give my camera to somebody, and I would tell them, hey, take a picture of me, doing this. I'm in Africa, and I have to have some pictures of me in there. And that's what that is. And the same thing right here. This is the bartender in the hotel. I didn't drink, though. So I was just posing where she was really nice. And she also did my laundry and ironed my socks and my underwear, and everything got ironed. It was kind of cool. They ironed everything. And I tipped very, very well. And actually, the bush behind me is chocolate. It has these pods on it, and it has chocolate on it. And they were everywhere. Now, these guys right here, I just took their picture because they were entrepreneurial, and I'm entrepreneurial. And they had their own little thing going, and they were selling whatever it was they were selling. And I bought some of it, even though I don't know what it was or anything. I bought some, and I paid them 200 CDs, which for an adult at that time, 50 CDs a month was the average pay. So I gave them 4 months pay, and they were the happiest kids you ever saw. And I was actually scolded for doing that, but I couldn't help it. I'm a kid guy, so I turned them kids on to some money. And I did to everybody too. I had one kid following me around polishing my boots every day, and I was giving him 200 of CDs a day and he polished my boots every single day. And that was before I really knew that $50 was a lot of money to them, a whole month's worth of money. And that was the lowest denomination I had got. So I had to go back and break the denomination down. Now, this city is huge, really huge. It's 3 million people or something like that, a lot of people. And we're looking for a van or something to take us out onto the Afram Plains, into the farms and villages that we're going to go to. And this is where our interpreter said this is where we go. And that's where we went. And we were kind of worried about it, though. We're looking around thinking, man, this is pretty seedy, But I guess that was how a lot of the city looked. Or really, it did. After we drove around, it really did look like that. And then, I had to take a picture of this. This is their battery center, but it also was their parts store. So if your car broke, this is where you went, the AutoZone right here. And I just thought I would throw that in there. And this is their actual money. After I broke the big high dollars down into 20s, which was still a lot of money, I needed to really have a lot of ones. This is what their money looks like. And I brought a whole bunch of it back, but I just thought it would be interesting. So we did find, we found something to take us out into the, jungle. And we got probably, 100 miles out of town, and it broke down. And we were walking after that. So we just started walking and we hoped that somebody would pick us up or something. I don't know what we were thinking. I mean, I was thinking there was lions and tigers and elephants and all this stuff. But they told me, don't worry, they ate them all because there's no, you had to go to a national park to see anything like that. There was nothing that was going to get me. We had to worry more about people than the animals. Even though I was ready with my camera, if anything jumped out to eat one of those guys, I would have took a picture of it. And after a little while, a couple of hours of walking, the driver had somehow got a call, but there was no cell phone, so he went somewhere and made a call somehow. And I guess he got on somebody gave him a ride all the way back to the town, and they came back with this van right here and picked us up as we were walking. And this is like, we're getting close to the jungle now, and that is the actual Shell station. That would be the very best gas station in the country right there. Excuse me. And then what was interesting about it, that's imperial leaders in those jars up there, and they actually turn a crank and they pump into one, and it gravity feeds down into the tank. Now you can see the guys I'm with, they don't look too happy. They are scared out of their britches. And I'm actually having a good time. I'm eating coconuts and pineapple. And I thought it was funny, the look on their face. They look very concerned. And there was really nothing to be concerned about at that point. Now that's something right there. That's something to be concerned about, okay? Right there is scary hotel. That's like not where you want to sleep, okay? And it's the first village that we went into, and nothing happened there. And this is like around the corner from that shot, and you can see the dinner running around on the ground. There's no refrigerators, there's no anything, so everything had to be live and, you know, killed for food. Then the roads, we finally hit dirt roads, and in the floor of that van there was holes in the floor, and the dust was like blowing up in there, and it was a red dust. Now we're in the jungle, and the dust covered me. My blonde hair is looking red, my face is looking red. I was a mess. And we got way, way, way back there, and we had to cross the Volta Lake. And we got way back in there, and this thing, it was about an hour ride on this thing to cross it over to the Afram Plains. And I took a picture. I got attacked by a monkey. There's actually a big monkey straight down there. You can see the guy standing up, and there's a big monkey right there. Well, that monkey attacked me and bit me, and ever since I hate monkeys. But you can still see everybody's carrying everything on their head. Now we finally made it to the hotel that was way like 300 miles into the jungle, and it was in Coco. That was the city, and it was actually a busy little place, and everybody's carrying their dishes and different things in there. They go wash their dishes. There's no running water or anything, so they had to go get the water and bring it to us. This is like looking out the front of the hotel from the balcony of my room, and this is across the street from the balcony down a little ways. I kind of zoomed in on this shot. This is their neighborhood, and this is well-to-do neighborhood for this town. Usually you can see the pipes coming out of the house, like they have toilets and all that stuff, but no running water or anything. So they actually flush the toilet by bringing 5-gallon buckets of water and just dumping it in there. And then it runs out in that kind of gutter you see right there. In the whole town, you can smell a town 50 miles before you get to it because of all the sewage in the street gutter things. and you don't want a mosquito to bite you, seriously. And this is the other direction. This is from my room, and I was actually looking the other direction, and I guess that's an apartment complex, but you could tell everybody's out and about doing their thing. And that little area down on the right where the tin roofs are, they partied all night right there. So once the sun goes down and it gets cool, they stay up all night and party because it's the best part of the day. Probably we should do that here where it's 99, feels like 105. But so now this is a church in this little town that they send money to. And I don't want to hear anybody complain about their buildings or anything, because this is one of the nicest churches they had in this town. But you can see that when it rains, it's pretty leaky, right? You can see on the floor how it leaks. And these people are all dressed really nice and everything. These are the more well-to-do people, and that's the more well-to-do church. So really, I think Americans maybe should go over there and experience some of this stuff, because it would change your whole perspective on what America is. And this is looking from the front, looking on the side. And I mean, it was an interesting thing for me, because I really wasn't a church person. Okay, now this is another village. This is the first village. This is where the little girl incident happened. And you could tell it's a pretty big village. There's about 200 or a little over 200 people living there. And there's another shot of it. And that guy right there is the most important guy there. He has pants on, so you know that he's more rich than the other ones. And then I'm actually really am working right here, and one of the guys took a picture. Our other van broke, so we had another bus like thing. It seemed like everything was breaking down. But this is out, and they're growing the yams, and he took a shot of me actually doing my thing out there. And this right here is on our way home, and that is the KLM 747, and I'm pretty sure that's the last picture. But I hope you guys enjoyed that a little bit. That was my trip to Africa, and I thought I would share some pictures so that you guys have a visual of what I was talking about last night. I know that it wasn't Nigeria. That's Ghana. It's right next to Nigeria. We did go into Nigeria, drove into Nigeria. I actually was carrying, to prevent mosquitoes, I was carrying 100% DEET cream, and they would not touch me. In fact, when I left, I had several bottles of it, and I didn't get bit. I could walk right through a big cloud of mosquitoes, and I wouldn't get bit at all. They would part like the Red Sea when I walked through there. And I had an assistant named Sammy that he did everything for me. He was my interpreter, my driver, everything. Like when I went on my own, Sammy was my right-hand man. And he would go get me my food, stuff like that. In fact, in the morning, when we were in Accra or in some of the bigger cities, he would get the coffee and bring it to me, and I would tell him, bring 2 cups, because it costs 260 cedis for a cup of coffee, which to them is what, 4.5 months pay for 1 cup of coffee. And we would sit out on the veranda and drink coffee, and he thought he was really something sitting with me. Like he thought we were really rich, but really that was only $1 something for me, the coffee. So I spent maybe $3 on, an American for me and him to have coffee. And I gave him all the DEET that I had left when I left. And I told him, just use a little drop. And he thought it was magic, that you could put this white lotion on and it would, you know, make them all go away. But 100% DEET works really good. Yeah, nets. We had nets in our rooms because there's no windows. There's slats, you know. It was only in the real expensive big cities that we have windows and air conditioning. When you get out in the other part, you don't have that. It is mind-boggling. It'll make you love America a lot. Like, there was times every 40 miles, and I couldn't take pictures of it because you can't take pictures of cops and military and all that. But every 40 miles, there was a police checkpoint. And it wasn't because they were checking for alcohol. They were keeping tabs on their people. And at one of them, they actually drug two guys out. Over there, nobody has cars. So everybody rides on everything, that like all the trucks and everything that have people piled up on top of them and hanging off the side of them. And the big trucks, there would be between the truck and trailer where they hook together, there'd be, you know, 20 people hanging off over everything. And at one point there was a truck, like a flatbed, and they built a canopy over the top of it, and it was just stuffed full of people. And we were next up to have all our gear undone and laid out and open our suitcases and everything. They did it every 40 miles. Well, they grabbed these two guys and they drug them to the side of the road and they shot them in the head. And it was because they were gay, I found out. I mean, I was telling the driver, turn around, turn around. After they did that, I was like, I'm not going any further. Turn around, take me back. You know, I'm on the next plane out of here. And they said, don't worry, you're not gay. And I went, what? And then it made sense because we couldn't share a room either. It was illegal for us to share a room. Well, if you share a room, that means you're gay. So we didn't share rooms, and I didn't know why we didn't share rooms. We actually wanted to save money because they were charging us more than most people because we were American. They tripled the amount of the rooms because we were American. And I found out if you're gay over there, because of AIDS was rampant in the 80s, early 80s, that's when it really started ravaging Africa. And lots of little kids died from AIDS. They got it from their mother when they were born. So a lot of little kids died before the age of 2 from AIDS. So they shot these two guys, and I right in the head, and it makes you really appreciate America a lot. Oh yeah, everywhere I went, when there was police, they would see, because, you know, here I am, a white boy with a white afro. They would come up and stick their gun up my nose and hold me up and ask for my papers, ask me how much money I had. And they wanted American money, but I didn't carry any. I had traveler's checks, and I kept those in a safe. But I had, even though they couldn't do anything with traveler's checks anyways, but they would ask me how much money, and I learned to carry my money that I want to spend in my right pocket, and then carry more money for them in the left pocket. Oh, okay. And when they would hold me up, I would pull the money out and hand them from the left pocket. They would count out half of it and then give me the rest back. But I got held up probably, I can't even count how many times. Every time I ran into a policeman, and it was bad. It was pretty bad. Yeah, at first it was really scary. At one point we went to a celebration, their Independence Day, what they called Independence Day, but it was March 2nd. And they had this soccer field. They called it a football field, but they played soccer there, and it was huge. and everybody showed up in this one town. I heard an estimate from one of the ministry guys, the Department of Ministry of something, publicity or something like that. We had a letter from the president saying that we could go in and I could videotape inside. But then when we showed up and I presented the letter, they held me up outside, and they set my equipment like 40 yards away from me, and they told me no pictures, and they tore my letter up and said that, that, and I thought that was it. I thought that was going to be the end. And then you could see him, the president was in there, you could hear him everywhere, and they had these Jeeps driving all around, and they had machine guns on them, and they were spinning. The guys that had chairs, and they were just spinning around with these machine guns. And there was, I estimate, like 7 million people there. Not so many that there was more people on the outside than there was on the inside, but the place was packed. And I mean, it was packed, and these Jeeps are everywhere, driving around real slow, and the guys with the machine guns were spinning around, and the president was speaking, and he was standing there, and he was holding his arm up. Remember, I was telling you last night that they would hold when they were dancing, the chief would hold his arm up, and then when he went like that, then the kids would get up and start dancing, and then they would go around the fire and then sit down, and he'd have his arm up again, and when he went like that, then the women got up, and he went like this, and they were dancing, and then he went like that, and then the men would go around, and the president was standing there with his arm up like that, and he was scolding everyone. He was scolding everyone for going against his regime. And this guy had this was his second time taking over the country. And the first time he went in, and it was a bloodless coup, and he took over the country, and he ran it for so many years. And then he gave it back to the people, and he told them, be good to the people and everything. And they didn't. They started raising taxes and doing all this stuff. And a few years later, he went back in there. And this time it wasn't bloodless. He killed everybody, even their families. And he took that over. And then that's when that's when he set up the police checkpoints and stuff like that. So he was scolding everyone. And while he was doing that, there was all these Jeeps and soldiers on the beach, and they were marching these people out onto the beach right behind him. And I don't know, it was quite a ways behind him, but you could see the beach. And at one point, he finally went like that, and the Jeep drove by these people and mowed them all down, shot them all, everybody. And they said it was around 100 people out there that he shot. And then soon as he did that, the crowd went wild, and they were all chanting, "Let the blood flow in Ghana." And it freaked me out real bad. And I told my guys, I am out of here like today. I am on the next plane out of here. I am done. I'm not staying here. This is ridiculous, crazy. I mean, I was told the walls have ears, and you can't speak against the government. You'll be locked up, killed, whatever. And I told him, I'm out of here. I'm on the next plane. He's like, you are on the next plane. I'm like, good, let's go. And he goes, no, you're on the next plane out of here. I told him, good, let's go. Like, let's get out of here. He goes, no, you don't get it. Like, when we leave the next plane, that's the next plane. Like, you don't leave until the next plane. What you're scheduled to leave, that's the next plane. You can't leave until we were scheduled to leave. I'm like, what? Like, oh man, that was a trip for me. Now I'm stuck because I am on the next flight out, which is like 4.5 weeks to go, and oh man, I was beside myself on that one. And then the president, he's trying to calm it, make everybody shut up. and these Jeeps are driving around, and there's a soldier staring at me. He's been holding me at gunpoint for 2 hours, staring right at my eyes, holding a machine gun at me. And as I looked around, I realized one of those Jeeps was right behind me, and he was aiming down at me, and I didn't know he was even there. And I was told he was there the whole time, just like that soldier, the sergeant major that was in front of me, holding me at gunpoint. But the president was holding his arm up like that, and he was telling everybody to calm down. Otherwise, he's going to give the command to open fire on the crowds to shut up. And as soon as he said that, silence, man. I mean, the whole place went silent. 3 million something people, they shut up because there was Jeeps everywhere, and he already shot 100 people. It was, he was going to open fire on everybody. Yeah, talk about freaking out. But yeah, so I wanted to share this with everybody and talk a little bit about it. And I don't want to say anything bad about Africa or any country or government or anything. The people were great. They were absolutely the nicest people. I mean, they were really wonderful, wonderful people. And I feel sorry for them that the big countries, the powers of the world that have all the big corporations and everything over there robbing them and not putting anything back in, no infrastructure, no anything. That kind of upsets me because like in some of those countries, gold and chocolate, those are like the most expensive things in the world. Diamonds, gold, chocolate, and they are just taking it out of there by the boatloads. And the rich people in the country are making money off it, but everybody else, the trickle down thing doesn't work. If you're working in the mines from the time you're a little kid and you stay there and you do that your whole life, and maybe you live to 35 or 40, because they work you so hard. And it made me so mad. Like there was one point I was in a village and I was all dirty and dusty and everything, and it was hot and miserable, and I was sleeping in one of those little things, and I mean it was miserable. And this lady went with her kids. I had no idea they were doing it, but I'm real generous with everyone. She walked 5 miles to the nearest water with some 5-gallon buckets, and her son walked 5 miles one way and then 5 miles back with a full 5-gallon bucket on her head, and the little boy too, and just so I could take a sponge bath. I mean, it broke my heart. And after I took a sponge bath, that's where we flushed the toilet with it after everybody bathed. And I mean, when the water came back, it was fresh. I was the first one to take a sponge bath. I mean, this is like getting to me a little bit. But I looked in the bucket and you couldn't even see the bottom. The water was nasty, But I took a sponge bath and I felt for those people. Another 10 hours, yeah. Only I'm having fun, Cold Warrior. How are you, man? I got my studio all set up, and I'm able to do things, and I can come in and turn it on and all that. And that's what I'm doing. My wife just delivered my dinner to me, so really it's time for me to have dinner. I thought I would, after telling that long story last night about Africa, I thought it would be cool to come on and share some pictures and give everybody a little bit of visual about what I was actually seeing and experiencing. Dang, the water story got to me. I'm a crybaby, sorry. I have feelings. But so I gotta compose myself a little bit. Right, yeah. Well, when we give money, hardly anybody gets it. Like those March of Dimes shirts I had on, don't give to the March of Dimes. They're gonna hate me because I'm saying this, but they came in. I had this huge studio, and I had everything enough to. I had everything. I actually held a 2-day telethon in my studio for March of Dimes, and they came to me a few months earlier, and they asked me if I wanted to donate my studio, and so that meant I was paying the electricity, all the equipment, the lights, everything. And they said they would bring their own directors and cameramen and all that. So I didn't have to I didn't have to donate my guys. So they manned it. After 2 days was over, and they had this big bowl, and there was people all over the place going door to door, and they would come in and tally everything up and do all this stuff and dump the money in and make a big show of it. And they had stars coming in and out, doing acts and things like that. And it was a local one, so the 24-hour one was somewhere else, but they would go to the local ones all the time and tally up what they were doing locally. Well, after the thing was over, after it was over, I found out that the actual network that was airing it, we were microwaving the signal from our studio over to their studio, and they got paid for the airtime. And then I found out the cameraman got paid. When they got done, they paid everybody cash right out of that big bowl. They counted everybody out, and they got paid. Everybody got paid. I felt so used because I didn't get paid, and I had no idea. I thought everybody was donating, and not everybody was donating, and so you got to watch out. Even here, you got to watch out. Like how much you need to check, like how much money actually that everyone donates to these causes actually make it to the actual cause, the actual what they are getting the money for. And I learned a big lesson. Like, I don't give money to March of Dimes, or about the only one I'll give it to is Salvation Army, because I found out Salvation Army actually really does help a lot of people. But all the rest of them, I'm not so sure. Maybe St. Jude's might be a good one. I'm not sure about the Shriners or any. I haven't researched all of them, but only the ones in my area, like the Salvation Army, they help people when they get burned out of their house and stuff like that. They really do help people. So if you give to charities and stuff like that, give it to me. I need it worse, probably. So, like, don't give it to those guys that's just buying Maseratis and stuff like that. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It gets me angry. And so, but only that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And they're probably going to hate me because I just said that, but that's just how it is. I'm sorry. Let's see. Hey, Brown Dwarf in Northern Illinois, Sasquatch, how are you? See, now that's a good cause right there, digging wells. That's probably the most important thing you could do, is have wells in Africa, because their water is far away from the villages. Well, that you're giving to your church, that's a good thing, Renee. I mean, you're supposed to tithe, I think, aren't you? To your church, so that's a good thing. And if you don't have it, don't give. The Lord knows your heart. And sometimes it isn't the money. I mean, even though the preachers and everybody make it about the money, it could be helping people. Like, I raised foster kids, and I don't want to blow my horn on what I did, because when you do that, you rob yourself into the other realm that you go to when you die. So don't go tooting your horn, because you're actually making points over there on the other side. And if you receive your reward here, you lose your reward. You used it up, and actually you could have had it on the other side. But people go around bragging about everything they do here, and And you don't want to lose that. You want your reward to be over there more than over here, because you can't take it with you over here. So make sure that you don't brag. Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing and that kind of thing, you know? Wow, thank you, Cold Warrior. That's cool. That's a lot right there, and it all adds up, man. And even for you, it adds up for blessings. I pray everybody that gives me money gets blessed 100-fold of what they give. And I believe you will be blessed, or anyone that gives me money will be blessed 100-fold, or gives me gear or things like that 100 times over, be blessed. And I even say that to you, Cold Warrior, be 100 times blessed, 100 times for your charity. And God hears me, and God hears you guys, believe it or not. I mean, sometimes we don't hear back, but he definitely knows your heart. He knows every hair on your head. He knows when the bird falls out of the sky and hits the ground dead. I mean, he knows. And believe me, he knows. I gotta go too. Hey, Bolt Gun, how are ya? My wife just delivered my dinner. I'm sitting here looking at it, and it smells so good. It's tri-tip, so I'm a hungry guy. And she didn't know I was coming on. I just was sitting in here messing around with the pictures, and I thought, man, I'm gonna share these pictures with everyone and talk about where I went, and let everybody see where I was and the conditions, and share a little bit about it, more than what I shared last night. Because a lot of people don't believe me. They tell me, I have friends, even though with pictures, they're like, you talk like you did, nobody could do all you've done in a whole lifetime. But only you could turn on the TV and see me on Finding Bigfoot or Monsters and Mysteries or whatever, yeah, I did. It's all documented. I mean, when I die, I'm not going to have any woulda, shoulda, couldas. When I'm old and can't do anything, I'm not going to sit around going, man, if I would have did this, or if I would have done that. I don't have none of that. When things came up and opportunities availed theirself, I jumped on it and I did it. And I encourage everyone, life is short. You have a bucket list, start checking off bucket list things. And if you have a disability and you can't do all the things, at least to do the ones you can do. Get busy, because life is short. Tomorrow could be the very last day. So don't sit around moping and feeling sorry for yourself. Get busy. Go do something. No matter what it is, turn on your camera and be a YouTube star. I mean, do whatever you want to do, and do it to the best of your ability. Enjoy yourself. That's the most important thing, is find the things you like to do and enjoy yourself. If you find a job that you love, that it's more like a passion than work to you, you'll never work a day in your life. You will enjoy yourself so much that they have to make you go home. You will get up wanting to go to work. And that sounds weird, but that my whole life has been like that, because I followed my passions instead of how much money could I make if I did this work? And then I did do a few of those, and I found, I would do good, but I can't wait to clock out. Can't get up in the morning oh man, it's already morning, and not want to go to work. Screw that. Don't do that. Stop doing it right then and go find something that you're passionate about. And actually, when you do that, you're better than everybody at it, because everybody else is working and you're not. So you'll be better at it. You'll get more raises. You'll be more successful, and you'll be happy. So just remember that is that's my best advice that I ever gave. I used to speak at the colleges, at Fresno State and Fresno City colleges in the marketing departments. And that was my main thing. I would tell them, if you're in this for the money and not because you like doing it, you're going to hate it. Find the thing that you like doing, make that your career, and you will be happy. And you will love doing what you're doing, and you'll be more successful than the person that's actually doing it for work, because it makes more money or whatever. But that's my advice to everybody this week. Right on. That's cool, man. Or maybe you're not a man. I'm sorry. That is cool though, because you found like a passion and you liked helping people and you went for it. I think that's so cool. Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of interactions with nurses after almost losing my leg because they made an accident and blocked the femoral artery. For 8 days, the femoral artery was blocked at where they put the catheter to do an angiogram, and then when they pulled it out, they used some kind of collagen plug to stop the bleeding faster. But they still used direct pressure, so they pushed it into the artery. And 8 days later, I was losing my leg, and they were telling me in minutes, tissue starts dying, in hours, muscles start dying, and in like days, the bone is dying, all this stuff. They scared the doo-waddlins out of me. And then when they put me in the surgery, they're like, when you wake up, you may not have a right leg. We're going to try to save it. But they did save it, but it's not the same as it was. I'll tell you that. A lot of nerves are dead and the muscles are dead, and they don't grow back. Some of it grows back a little bit, but once it dies too far, it doesn't grow back. But that was scary. But the nurses saved me a lot of times and helped me out a lot. Some of them though weren't so nice though. The ones that were doing it for work, for the money, and they didn't have the passion, they were mean and nasty. And I met a few of those. They didn't want to be there, you could tell. They'd rather be on the beach somewhere. That's right, California law, you can't sue doctors, hospitals, and if you can, they have a $150,000 cap, which actually makes it where the attorneys don't want to take the case. Yeah, and they told me too, like, go lose your leg and come back, and then it's worth it. We could sue for civil damages. I mean, I was a marketing director in a casino making a ton of money, and then they would have had a, like, I kept telling them, like, take my case because I was 41 when that happened and healthy as a horse. Like, I would have made a lot of raises. What I was making at 41, by the time I was my age right now, I would have been making twice as much money. And that's what I was trying to tell the attorney. Like, I already was making as much as him, and I was going to get raises because I worked for somebody, and casinos are rich. I mean, there's no end to how much money you could make and perks and all that kind of stuff, but they still wouldn't take it. They're like, when you get into the jury and they look at you, you're going to lose. You have to lose your leg. You have to have something missing. And I'm like, no, I like my leg. It doesn't work that great, but I like it. I can get up and walk around, and I could use my cane and stuff, and just only sometimes does it get me, like in the middle of the night when nothing's going on and all my mind focuses on the pain of the nerve damage and all that stuff, the CRPS thing. That's the only time and then I even, there for a while, I begged to cut it off. I begged my doctor. I kept begging and begging, cut it off, because it hurt so bad, right? And finally, they set me down. The cardiologist, the nerve guy, the nerve specialist guy, and my main doctor. They were all having a meeting, and they set me down, and they're like, we could cut your leg off, but even if we cut it off, you'll still feel the pain. It's called phantom pain or something like that. So you'll still feel that same pain even if we cut your leg off. Now, do you want your leg cut off? It was like, no. I think I'll keep it. I like it. Even though it hurts like crazy, I'll still keep it. So I can't play basketball or football, but I can watch people play if I want. I'm not into sports, not professional anyways. I think that is one disgrace that they call it a job and they make millions for playing a game and they're looked up as heroes and they're all a bunch of freaking bad people usually, greedy and mean. When you go try to get an autograph, I worked at the casino and was high up in the casino, so I would be sponsoring pro teams. And when I would go like throw the first pitch at a ball game and stuff like that because I sponsored them, and I would throw a first pitch on the first game, and then all the rest of the times I gave away as an event to throw the first pitch, so that I made it like a promotion, and I would give away these and tickets to the games and stuff like that. But when you go over and you threw the first pitch and then you get the ball and you go over to the players and you want them to sign it, they snub you, they act like they're better than you, all kinds of stuff. I was like, what? Dude, you are not that important. Like a nurse is more important. A cop is more important. A fireman is more important. You're just a freaking ball player. I mean, come on. You are not a hero. And, there's guys dying out on the battlefield that make way, 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 way less than you, and they're heroes. You're not a hero. Knock it off. Sign the ball, you freaking idiot. Used to make me so mad. So I don't even watch sports anymore because I caught that attitude so many times. It was like, you guys suck, man. Really, they do. And there's some that don't. Some are really, really nice, but the majority of them, forget that. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I actually think that they should pay the police, the nurse. I think the nurses and doctors doctors get paid pretty good, but I actually believe that the real hero people should make the money, not. And I understand the economics of it, like everybody's tuned in watching football or whatever, and they're making all this advertising dollars and selling tickets outrageously. It's like go over there and pay $10 for a Pepsi, like come on, $8 for a hot dog. I mean, they made it outrageous where you can't, like, even the cheap seats you can't even afford anymore. But as those guys make more money, the owners, they can't justify keeping it all those billions, so they have to kick it down and so now the players make $5 million a year or whatever. It's like ridiculous. I do understand the economics, but I don't understand it doesn't have to be that expensive. Like, really, like I used to give away sodas and stuff at the casino, and I know how much that stuff costs. Like the cup is around 9 cents or 19 cents for a bigger cup, and then the soda itself is like 5 cents to fill it up, 6 cents for the ice. And then when you break down the hourly amount for the person that's giving it or going out and selling it or whatever, you add in maybe another 25 cents to it. So you have 40 cents into that Pepsi. If you made it $1.50, you're making over $1 per. And if you're selling 10,000 of them, so you're making $10,000. If you're selling it for $10, You're making 90,000 bucks. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, it is really ridiculous. And I'm probably making a lot of enemies right now talking about it like that, but that's the breakdown. I'm sorry, that's how it is. Okay, you guys, yeah, Bolt Gun, I'm with you, man. I'm serious. My wife really did she brought me my tri-tip, and the fan is on. It's drying my bread out really bad. So I will see you guys probably really soon. I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and I love you guys. I'm praying for you guys. Have really a great rest of the Sunday, and I'll see you.